Hey everyone and welcome. We are Next Level Business Advisors and this is Business Stories of Success. If you want to break through and achieve your own business success by learning from other successful business owners, you're in the right channel. For more of our content, make sure you click subscribe and don't forget the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when new videos are added. Enjoy today's video.
Hello, hello, hello. You're with Marc Adams at Next Level Business Advisors. And today we're joined by Vikram Rajan of Video Socials. How are you, my friend?
I'm well, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I usually talk about where people's from or where they're at. And this one is special because you're from my hometown. I was born and raised in Harlem. So
There you
how's
go.
life in Harlem going with you?
Harlem's good. Harlem's busy. It's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
There's construction all around us. It's popping.
Nice, nice. Love it, love it. So you have, and we were chatting before, a brilliant business. I can't wait to chat about it, learn more about your business. So why don't we jump into it? Tell us who you are and a little bit about your business.
Sure. So video socials really came about out of a need that our clients have. Our clients are your everyday accountants, attorneys, consultants, financial advisors, and they get their business through word of mouth referrals. So they need to stay top of mind with whomever can bring them business, from current clients, past clients, their networking colleagues, other referral relationships that they meet along the way. And we know in the world of internet and word of mouth, content is king, but sometimes that can be time consuming, and it's usually kind of low on our to-do list and low in terms of priority. And so it's very easy to procrastinate and never get it done. So back in the day when written articles was kind of what was getting the SEO optimization and the word of mouth, we have a service called Phone Blogger, where we interview our clients over the phone and we turn what they say into optimized written articles. Along the way, times changed. Facebook started prioritizing video posts in their algorithm, I want to say around 2016, 2017. That's when we knew the writing was on the wall. LinkedIn followed suit the following year, where they now, of course, prioritize video posts in their algorithm, which basically means if you post a link to an outside blog article, a blog post, and then you post a video natively to LinkedIn, that video is going to be shown faster, higher, and more often than that written article. And so when our clients started losing that traction, we knew what was happening. We knew that it was basically video was hurting them because they weren't doing video. And this was BC, right? This is before COVID. And so
I like it.
we needed to get them into the world of video. And none of them really were comfortable on video. They weren't living their life on webcams like we are. And so we said, hey, there's this thing called Zoom. It's for video chatting. So why don't we come onto this Zoom thing, and there'll be 6, 7 other clients of ours. And our clients very often know each other through bar associations and CPA societies. And so we said, hey, you're going to be with peers. We're each going to take a turn, essentially doing what they do on Phone Blogger. They're going to record an article. But in this case, they're going to be staring into the black hole of a camera, but they don't have to do it alone. They can do it with a small audience of their peers. And then they get feedback on what they presented. Just a short 2 to 3 minute video blog. They get feedback in terms of what they did well, what they could have done differently. Do I know anyone that I can share your video with? What kind of questions that arises that can lead to future topics? And then after it's my turn to present and I get feedback, I then get to give feedback to the next presenter, who gives feedback to the following presenter. 45 minutes later, everyone's gotten their video blogs recorded together, fun and done. And then it basically gets loaded into our automation software that does all the rest. So it adds captions to the video, and end screen featuring any of the disclaimers that they're required to have, which also features their logo and their contact info. And they push the right button and the video gets posted for them automatically on YouTube and Facebook or LinkedIn or their WordPress website. So it's all essentially done for them. The hardest part is the fun part, and that's the video socials clubs. Along the way, maybe we'll talk about the VIP aspect of video interview podcast that also came about because of our members, but I'll kind of leave it at that.
Okay, cool. That is a lot to unpack. You have created, and when we talked about this before, I was like, this is an amazing model. I mean, okay, one, it's hard enough for some people to consistently record content or come up with content.
Yep.
So by creating a video club, everybody's just chatting together. Really easy to do. I know I can get on the phone with anybody or talk when I'm talking to a person, and I can pontificate for an hour about business because it's just what you love, right? So if we're chatting, boy, I can go. So you created this environment where it's easy to come up with content.
Yeah.
But then you also marry that with the whole production and distribution, which is doubly as hard. I mean, I do this podcast and it's fun. I love getting on Zoom and talking to business owners. I learned so much. It's not so fun when it has to be edited. And my video editor has now left, and I'm filling in the slack, and it's like, oh boy. So now you've got both sides of this equation. It sounds like you have an amazing business model. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, what makes it really fun is seeing the impact that our clients get, right? Because it's not only that they get the video blogging done, but they get it posted, and our members get to know each other well enough so they start liking and sharing each other's videos, which becomes a multiplier effect because it's really a community where everyone's kind of helping each other. Really, because when I see you post that video on LinkedIn, well, I remember you recording it in front of me, and perhaps you were actually answering one of the questions that I had from watching previous video of yours. And so I'm now part of your marketing, you're part of my marketing. So that collaborative, cooperative, co-marketing really comes because of the community. And so then you have your own centers of influence and referral relationships also sharing your content, which is kind of the original purpose. People don't realize the community they're joining, but that becomes part of the process as well.
Yeah. It's really, really amazing, and everyone benefits. I love that. So let me ask you a couple of questions. I mean, just a little bit further. What role do you play in your business? What's your role?
So I'm the co-founder. Marc Bullock is my business partner. So Marc is in the clubs. He's very much COO operations. So he's making sure everything's running properly. We have staff that runs everything. My team is really critical and integral to the success of our service and our company. So I very often are meeting with potential members, getting to know them, helping them brainstorm their initial topics. Once they kind of prime the pump with the initial topics, they join the club, they're going to get ideas from other members, either by watching them, and that'll trigger ideas, or their peers will ask them questions about their topic that they recorded, and that will spur future ideas as well. Let alone they start getting into the groove, and you kind of know how it is. When we start creating content, wherever we're going, and we answer a frequently asked question, we remind ourselves, oh yeah, I've answered that before. I should turn that into a video, and then I can send them a video link instead of literally retyping the same words over and over. So that's my role, because very often they need more than just a video socials club. They need help with the optimization. They need help maybe with written articles, or they've been thinking about running their own podcast. And so that's something new that we started about 6-7 months ago, is now running right now almost 20 different video interview podcasts for our clients. And that's kind of take it to the next level. So I like to make it consultative and cooperative and discussion oriented of where they are in their practice and where they're looking to go. And content marketing is just a means to an end. We like to make it fun, but it's a means to an end.
Hey, but if you can make it fun, man, you've conquered, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so brilliant about it. I love the fact that you have come up with this brilliant business model. And I'm sure it's bringing a lot of people, I'm going to say easy success. Not that success is easy, but when you can make the process easy, that's successful.
Yeah, I mean, because we're it's not rocket science that we're creating. It's for them, they have all the ingredients, they're just not doing it. And it's like, well, once you start posting real good content, and it's you and it's your personality and your expertise, well, the algorithm takes over and the relationships take over. So they're not just spamming this or blasting this to random people. These are relationships that they've built over years, maybe decades. These are past clients that are coming back to them as new business. It's current clients who are realizing other services that you offer. These are, of course, referral relationships that are remembering you and now are in a position to click share, and now they're able to broadcast you to their circle of influence. So we're just helping our clients kind of get that part done. It's really for them and for the taking, so to speak. They're just not doing it. We get them out of their own way and make it fun and easy, and it's fun and done.
I like that. Get them out of their own way. How many business owners are always stepping on their own toes? Right.
Yeah,
and so you've created something that helps them out there. Now we do this podcast on Zoom, just like you. and we have it on audio and video. So now if someone is not watching the video and they're only listening, how in the world do we find you? Do you have a website? Do you have a phone
Sure.
number? And I see it here, but if they're not watching, share it with us, please.
Yeah, right. It's right below my face, so to speak. The easiest is for them to go to videosocials.net. So it's plural, videosocials.net, not .com. So when you go to videosocials.net, there's lots of things you can see. You can see examples of videos that our members are producing. They can use our automation software to post on their own YouTube channel, or if they don't have a YouTube channel set up, maybe in the first couple of weeks, they can piggyback and post in the community YouTube channel. So you can see examples. The top right-hand side of the website will say, be our free guest, and come and be our free guest and really just watch it happen. If there's time, we'd love for you as a guest to even record a video and just kind of go through the motions. And it could be kind of an elevator pitch video or an about yourself video. You don't have to think too hard. You don't have to actually post that video, but at least you're not a bump on a log. And we're not a networking group, so no one will know who you are unless you actually record a video. So come be a guest. And there's no pressure. You don't have to record the first time you're a guest. But we say if you come back as a guest second time, then we kind of expect you to record a video to get the full flavor of it. In the bottom right-hand side, if you're not ready to come as a guest right away, we say, hey, let's get to know each other. The bottom right-hand side of that website, videosocials.net, is a chat box. It's not a bot. It's not a robot. It's not automated. It goes to my cell phone. So I've muted it for this show. So it'll ping me, a couple of times every day, and I'll be able to chat with people right through the website.
Awesome.
And really help them. So I'm looking forward to getting to know your viewers and your listeners.
Awesome. And your website, videosocials.net, sounds very inviting. So I might be a visitor soon.
Yeah. It'll be great to have you, Mark. Yeah, you should definitely come to a club and experience it from the inside out. It's a lot of fun, and you'll get along. You doing what you do as an EA, you'll be in good company.
I'd love to. So let me ask you a couple more questions regarding just this part of it. What makes you an expert in your field?
It's a good question. So I don't know if I am an expert in my field. We've done this now for 2-3 years. So we know what works, we know what doesn't work. And that's really through the evidence of our clients. I guess I'm an expert because of the experience and the results of our clients. I didn't go to school for video production. I don't know anything about camera equipment. I don't know about aperture settings and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm not a videographer. I'm a marketing guy. Because all this stuff has become like democratized, to put it that way. We all have HD cameras in our pocket. We have, pretty high-end cameras even on our laptops. And we say, hey, if you look good on Zoom normally, you're going to look even better through video socials. Our system upgrades the video into full HD. So I know enough to hire a programmer to code the automation software. I know what I want. So I'm smart enough to know what I want, but not necessarily smart enough to do it. I'm not a coder, so I didn't create the software. We hired people for that. We're marketing guys, myself and Marc, and we learn from our clients. We know what works. Because of Phone Blogger, we know the algorithms and we know what the social media platforms look for. And we know from an attention span standpoint. So we say, look, these are scrollable, snackable videos. So a video blog should be 2 to 3 minutes. More than that, you're going to lose attention span. And you're also going to go into the world of kind of giving too much information. It's overwhelmed. It's fire hose. It could be too much information from an advisory standpoint, where you have to be careful if you're in some of the fields that our clients are, like law and accounting, et cetera. You have to be careful. So we say, keep it short and simple, the KISS principle, and have them wanting more. And they'll ask you questions. And these are prospective clients asking you questions, or their referral relationships asking you questions. So I'm an expert because of our client results. And we study that and we improve our system because of it.
I love it. And you know what? Sorry. One thing you said that I want to just hone in for a second.
Yeah.
And it's so important because part of what we do with this podcast is we try to extract the gems that owners give us so that people can say, did you get that? And then apply it. And you said, I'm not a coder, but I knew enough to hire the coder, right? So as an entrepreneur, one of the things that's valuable is that you don't have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You might know what needs to be done, but then you make it happen. So that's what the CEO and the CEO, they're the visionaries. Yeah. Right. And then you create the team.
Yeah. And to that point, Sarah on our team is fantastic. She runs the club. So she is our tech host. So she is the person literally there making sure the recordings are getting done properly. So I've been able to bring together a great team like Stacy, who's our client coordinator, that helps a lot from the VIP aspect, but also with video socials. And it's really because of our team that really makes this possible. I couldn't do it all on my own.
Right.
There's not enough hours in the day, let alone I don't know it all. But I
Right.
know enough that you said, to bring a good team together.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want to ask this question. Sometimes we ask it of our guests, sometimes we don't. But I think you're going to give me an answer that's going to knock my socks off. Let's see. What made you decide to take the leap to be a business owner?
Sure. I guess it was because of my dad. My dad worked for the phone company, 9X at the time, that turned into 9X. And then when 9X here in New York sold or got merged into Bell Atlantic, that's what became Verizon. And at that point, there was two of everything, and they didn't need him. And he was internal auditing, so he's a double major in chartered accountant from India, which is like a CPA here. And so in internal auditing. And it was at that time that he started becoming a management consultant. And he was kind of young at the time. He was in his mid-50s. So when I was just in high school and college, that sounded very old. Mid-50s doesn't sound too old anymore.
It's amazing, right?
And I essentially became his apprentice right out of school, right out of college. And my job was to connect him with his referral relationships, which is how I ended up in this world of helping lawyers and accountants, because those are the people that would bring in a management consultant to a small business. And so that's my world. And so 15 some odd years ago, 20 years ago, I essentially turned to my family friends. They knew my dad and me. And when I wanted to start my own marketing practice, I essentially turned to them and say, all right, what do you need help with? And had to learn the intricacies of not really marketing. I knew that part, but really the cottage industry of what it is to work with bookkeepers and EAs and CPAs and other types of accountants in a variety of areas of law and financial advisors, et cetera. And that was basically my world out on Long Island. And then now my business is nationwide, and we have clients in Europe even. So it's grown, but that's how it started. It was really, I didn't really know anything else. The concept of working a 9-to-5 is very foreign to me. But then again, I put in more than 9 to 5 running a business, so it's not. You end up with dozens and hundreds of bosses as an entrepreneur, not just one.
Yeah. You have entrepreneurship in the blood. I do too.
Yeah, it's basically one way or another. I have to make it work. I have to figure it out.
Yeah. My dad was the same. That's how I got it. How I knew it was possible.
Sure,
he was downsized, same thing. Worked.
Yeah.
He was a refrigeration mechanic, HVAC, but for like restaurants.
Sure.
And they downsized. And one day he was let go, and the next day he had his truck, and he had clients.
Yeah, good for him.
And it was like, wow, this is. But he sometimes it's just shown the way. So it's really nice to be able to see it come to fruition. And you're right. You work harder than when you're an employee until you get it right, and then it becomes a thing of beauty, right?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, right, it's that path of going from solo. And I was solo for a while until I got so busy I needed to bring on a business partner, Marc with a K. And he was the one, when we started Phone Blogger, he was like, hey, Vic, we can't do this. We can't interview our clients. We don't have the time for this. That's the whole point of starting another service that was more scalable. And that's really when we started hiring our first employee, Marta, who's still on our team, still on our staff. And that really opened up my eyes, because before then I never had employees. And so that concept of, I can build a team here, and I can build something as an infrastructure, and I don't have to be the person delivering it. I'm essentially a glorified sales professional, because that's what I do during the day. But I make the best, I make the promises, and I have to make sure my team can deliver. Marc has to make sure, he's the COO. But obviously it's in tandem. And so from that aspect, it's been a fun ride to kind of figure it out and make it work and kind of create services that are very timely and of the times. That's why
I'm all with you there. That's to me the most fun part about being an entrepreneur, business owner. You shape your direction, you chart your course, and you create the business that you want. If you want to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, you can. If you want to work 9 to 2, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you can. It's all in. If you have the wherewithal and the vision, you can create whatever you want to be successful. So that's awesome.
And I try to give that same flexibility to our staff as well, because there's a lot of things that happen in our company. We're social media oriented, we're internet marketing essentially, and so I don't really care as long as it's on deadline and meets our client requirements. If it happens at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m., if they need to leave early because they got to pick up kids, well, that's fine. My staff works from their home offices across the country, so I'm able to be flexible with them. We had that virtual remote staff before it was a thing to do with COVID. That's how we've grown. And so
Right.
I totally get it. And I like that kind of alternate workforce, so to speak, where they know they need the flexibility, and I'm willing to have that flexibility because we can grow together.
I like it. And as a small business owner, it's nice because when the big boys are going to talk, maybe throw dollars, but we can throw quality of life.
Yeah,
Right. We can
it's quality of
create
life,
something
it's
for
time,
people
it's
that people
flexibility, it's all
appreciate.
that stuff. And
Yeah.
and hopefully they also enjoy the work, that our
Of
clients are
course.
down to earth people. I mean, sometimes people think like, oh, aren't they highfalutin lawyers, or aren't they really tough to work with, accountants? I'm like, people are people, they're good
Yeah.
people doing good work for their good clients. And as
Yes.
long as
Accountants are the best. No, just kidding.
exactly.
Lawyers are the worst. Just kidding. It's funny because I do accounting, obviously, before I'm really focused on business advisory, but I did accounting.
Yeah. Right.
But in my prior life in the corporate world, I worked in a law firm. So
Yeah,
I know both people. I know
yeah.
both sides. I worked at the big banks, and I worked at the law firm, the large.
Yeah, look, it's a little different being in-house from what I hear, conjecture.
Oh, yes.
From what I hear, working
yes.
at a big corporate bank or working for one of the top law firms or even a corporate type firm, it's obviously different than working at
It's
a
a
smaller
whole different
firm.
world.
A smaller firm is like a
Absolutely.
small business. They have the same entrepreneurial challenges and
Spirit.
vision that any other small business owner has. Like your father, they've got the hustle mentality and spirit. They just have a different product in legal documents,
That's right.
court appearance, etc. But it's same vision as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to pivot now because
Sure.
the whole discussion that we have is really talking about success, right? Business stories of success. So I love to get entrepreneurs' take on the following set of questions. So I'm going to start with my first question that I ask every single entrepreneur. How do you define success?
I think it's happiness and emotional fulfillment. I think that is the one thing, that creative and emotional fulfillment is the artistry part of entrepreneurship. And I think that's something that for me, it's a creative outlet. You talk about being a visionary, I've got an idea and I want to see it through. Not all my ideas are good ideas, but I've got an idea and I want to see it through. And so from that aspect, entrepreneurship is my art form in that sense. And so it's artistry, but with a profit motive. It's a commercial artwork in that sense. And so, I know I've got to make a profit to feed my staff, feed myself, feed my family. But I would say that's success in business. Yes, it's profitability, it's kind of bottom line, but top line, it's emotional fulfillment. Like, we got to be happy doing this, or else, I could be miserable working for someone else. I don't need to be miserable working for myself. So
true.
That's what I think.
I love that. You see me, when I hear something amazing, I write it down. I've never heard that before. And I never thought of myself as an artist. Entrepreneurship is an art form.
Yeah.
And it is true.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. It's as ridiculous as anyone else saying that they want to be a professional artist, or
Yes.
as awesome. I don't mean to be demeaning in any way or disrespectful in any way.
I get it.
But it's a crazy, or to say that I'm going to grow up and be a professional athlete. Same concept. It just, unfortunately, the odds are stacked against you. The likelihood of you being a billionaire and an entrepreneur is as likelihood that you're going to be an MVP or be the Super Bowl or be in the World Series or be in the Olympics. The likelihood is pretty stacked against you. Now that there is a big room, there is like the working artist, the working musician world. One of my neighbors is that, and so she's got her fan club and she tours, but she's not on the radio. But nonetheless, she's a working artist and she's able to build a career in a variety of ways. In the same way as entrepreneurship, we don't all have to achieve billionaire status or have the vision of billionaire status or even multi-millionaire status. But I think there is something to be said about getting to millionaire status as an asset of a business. I think at that point, you have to have wherewithal and there's exit strategy and all that stuff. But I digress. And so from that aspect, I think it is an artistry. And is a working artist.
I like that. I really do. I love the way you painted a beautiful word picture as to what your business can be, and a struggling artist is typically happy anyway because they're
Yeah, sure.
fulfilling their
I
art,
mean,
right?
they're doing
So
their life's passion, for better or
absolutely.
for worse. It's hopefully they're not struggling financially. That's not necessarily a fun life to live.
Yeah, yeah.
But they are
Hey,
living
same with
their
entrepreneurship, right? You can be a
same
struggling
thing.
entrepreneur, same thing. And maybe you're not doing well, but the beautiful part is you can always, especially when you enjoy it, you can turn the tide,
You should try. You can
right?
find. Look, it's all about passion and purpose. And
Yeah.
being able to pivot. Those are three P's there.
Passion and
Um,
purpose. Passion, purpose, pivot.
yeah, yeah. Find it. Find a
Love
way.
it. I love it. I love it. And you know what? Once you find that way, then the joys start to
It
escalate.
compounds. It compounds. Yeah,
Compound. I
it's
like it.
always fun to kind of have another aspect of the company, and it's like we've always been in startup mode. We're back in startup mode again, and it's just like, all right, we build something to a certain level, and then the next thing builds on top of that, and now the next thing builds on top of that, and so it's like, all right, learning from different business models that we have.
Love it. So now you said success is defined as happiness and emotional fulfillment. Do you consider yourself to be successful?
I think I'm on the I think I'm on the path toward it. I'm on the path toward. I mean, I am definitely emotionally fulfilled on a day to day. It's fun doing what I do, but there's always that next thing that I want to achieve, which has its pros and cons. There's that restless spirit, can be a negative, but then again, it's looking to achieve it, looking to grow this, and I have a vision of where I know this company can be, and I want to build it. And yeah, we're looking forward to doing it.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Success is, to me, I always say it's the journey,
Yeah, it's a
right?
journey.
It's not just the destination. And so as long as you're having fun on that ride, you're having these milestones of success.
Right.
Right. So
It's
let me
fun.
ask you this question.
Sure.
How have you, and it ties into what we just talked about, because you have success and you're on this powerful journey. How do you make that a reality? Like, what are the things that you do to make your journey successful?
I think it's important to have goals, which can be milestones that are, and there are two types of, right? There's action-oriented goals of like, all right, this is what I got to do, which can be a to-do list, but it's an action-oriented. Those are leading indicators. Those are the habits. Those are the actions. Those are what you're doing for the results. Most people think of goals and they think of results, and it's like, well,
Right.
you can have the results all you want, but if you're not putting the action towards it, there's not, you can affirm and speak those goals, but you have to have the work behind it. And so for me, on a month-to-month basis, on a week-to-week basis, but really month-to-month, that's my life. To some degree, it's the numbers. I'm not very much in terms of like, looking at the balance sheet or looking at the P&L statement. That's not my world. I'm a sales guy. So for me, I've got my own personal quota, so to speak, of like what I'm looking to bring into the company, and kind of allow things to kind of trickle down, which is not always a good thing. That's a different issue of accounting. But from a sales perspective, I got my sales metrics, and that's really what I want. And I'm constantly watching in terms of what are my number of appointments, my closing ratio, and the clients that I'm bringing in. And that's my world. Those are the numbers that I look at. And so the reason I say that it's important for happiness is because those are the measuring tools. And what we measure, we can improve. And if we don't measure, then the happiness is based on delusion and illusion, and it's not really based on anything. And we can sort of, once you know that you have a habit, which can lead to systems and automations, there can be real forecasting of like, all right, can be predictable growth. I'm a big fan of recurring income. And so everything for us is either subscription or recurring one way or another. And so I know I can step ladder it. And so that's always been kind of part of our process. So it's like, all right, I'm not really interested in like selling something and then fulfilling it and then having to find someone.
One and done.
Like one and done. I want to be able to have some type of recurring there. And so that's always kind of, how can this be a recurring model?
I love that. I mean, I think that's powerful. And that is one of the best ways to grow business, with recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Now, certain things you can't have recurring revenue. I mean, maybe if you sell socks, but even then, I bet you they have a sock club.
There are sock clubs nowadays. There are clubs and memberships for everything now more than ever. So, outside industry tend to kind of create those things because they bring in the ideas from other industries. And so it's looking at your business differently and like, all right, how can I create that recurring income? So we learn from Phone Blogger to create video socials. We learn from the clubs to create our VIP service. And so we're learning and kind of, all right, how can we make it better for our client and have more raving fans and of course better for us?
Love it. Love it. Again, you sound like one of those entrepreneurial artists who are shaping the business and saying, you know what, I'm not going to just do this. I'm going to create a way to come up with recurring revenue. And that's a gift in and of itself.
I think so.
Get stuck in their
I feel
mindset.
best for that. Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I know I haven't figured everything out. Like there's this itching thing. I know I haven't, like there's a part of my business that I haven't totally figured out yet. And, I have my day job, those metrics, but my brain's working on that of like, all right, I got to solve something else. And when I solve it, I'll tell you about it.
All right. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm going to ask you an interesting
question. I literally have no idea there, but it's irking me. It's irking me.
That's the fun. I mean, that's the fun. Believe me, I do the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm doing this business advisor work, but boy, there's something here that I want to accomplish, and I have no clue how to get there yet. But I'll just let that matriculate. I'm doing this well, and then, but it's always working. I think that's really part of the whole entrepreneurial spirit. It's probably part of the drive, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's kind of in a big company lingo. It's the R&D. That's research and development. That's my job. As CEO, it's my day job is being a glorified sales professional, and that's great. But as CEO, to say vision and everything, very much tied in the research and development of innovation and ideation. So it's my antenna are up for it. So I'm always kind of, all right, it's the back of my brain. So, keep putting the input there and keep looking at it and thinking about it and poking it. And that's fun.
Love it. Love it. So let me ask you this question. So I'm going to imagine that on your business journey, you've made one or two mistakes.
Oh, man, multiple, dozens.
Oh, okay. What's one mistake that you made in your journey that you'd care to share so that we can grow on?
It goes back to recurring income. I remember as a marketing consultant, a solo, I hated billing my clients. I don't know if it was not valuing myself or feling unworthy, and I don't know. And so I had a decision to make. Either I hire a therapist and work through the head trash of why I feel guilty billing my clients, or I can just automate it and just take credit cards and just kind of have a recurring system. And I said, you know what, the 2% to PayPal or Stripe, et cetera, or QuickBooks now is cheaper than hiring a therapist. So that's the route I went to. So I said, you know what, let me pay 2% to MasterCard. And that is a mistake I made that I corrected, because it was like, look, I can't have this inconsistent income. And it wasn't really even a collections issue, because they'll pay me, but it was just annoying to send out the invoices, then, collect it, get the checks in the mail, or when I see them next, then I have to go to the bank. That whole thing was just annoying for me. I'm like, there has to be a better way. And of course, there is. Just take credit cards. It's well worth whatever merchant processing fees that there are. And so that was probably a huge mistake. Another big mistake is from a cash flow standpoint. Like I like, as you can see, the recurring income, I like small amounts every month that build as a step ladder. The good thing about that is that there's this accumulation, a snowball effect. Mm-hmm. The bad thing is that if you don't get paid up front, like in a large sum, you don't get this infusion of cash that you can then take and pour into advertising and marketing channels, especially. There are other things that you could do, capital expenses, et cetera. But I'm a service business. I don't really have capital expense. It's really advertising and marketing channels. And so that was a mistake I made for a long, long time, of not realizing, no, you know what, instead of charging a couple $100 a month, forego that, or instead of that, it's the same thing. Have the client charge it on their credit card and pay you $4,000 or $5,000, which is still amounts to the same thing. It's 4 months or 6 months or it's worth of work. It's the same thing, but that they don't really care. It's on their credit card. But for me as a tiny business, that's like a nice flood. And some people can't afford that, so they need to do it on a monthly. Okay, fine. I have that. I have a mix now. But that took me a ridiculously long time to come to that realization. In retrospect, I go, man, I could have been a lot further ahead because, cash is blood. As you know, this is your world. So that infusion, that it's like the blood infusion, is a health to the business. And so it's just like bringing in the nutrients to the business, and then you can reinvest that and grow faster. Yes. It's basically, instead of allowing them to nickel and dime every month, which some people have to do, and it's also there are benefits to that. But anyhow, my point is mitigating the risks and the issues of having little small payments that not a lot of people do. I mean, the irony is that most people tend to have the other model. Most people tend to, they'll pre-bill thousands of dollars. It's just that I never had done that. I would either bill by hour or bill by a small subscription. And so having that addition of influx of cash flow has really helped tremendously.
Yeah, cash flow management is one of the things I actually have an entire process. I call it the Cash Max process that helps people allocate their money, because they say cash is king, but if you don't have that flow, you're sitting on, you're dead king on a throne. You have to manage that flow. And it's a lot of, you use the word, it's funny, you said head trash. I just read a book about head trash, right? Yeah. Certain things we are in our mind that we can't get past, but it can actually hinder the flow of the growth of our business. Yeah. So I like that one that you shared. And that's something that I think a lot of owners have to deal with, which is cash flow management, how to maximize the dollars coming in, how to try to manage it, just even how much comes. Can I get a bulk? Can I get infusion? Can I, like attorneys, work off retainer, right? They don't say we'll start your case and, you give me $50 now and $50 next. They say, I need a $5,000 retainer. Right. Now we can get going. So cash flow management is critical to business success, but that's a whole different story. Let me ask you this question, because I was going to ask about the process, but the person. What do you think is the single most important quality needed to be a successful owner?
I think it's a combination. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a combination of creativity, but also discipline. Because you can be creative and be that artist and, kind of surfing all day, either on the web or on the water, and be that creative head in the clouds, head in the clouds, feet on the ground concept, right? That you need the discipline. It's a lot easier having someone else tell you what to do and dictate your time and make sure you do what it is and give you the deadlines, et cetera. I mean, I've created an infrastructure that between my clients and my staff, they give me the deadlines. I'm like, hey, what does that do? And I'll do it by deadline. So it's not as if I'm like 100% disciplined, but I create the infrastructure of discipline between my staff and my clients. I've got multiple bosses, but nonetheless, I have to get it done. And, yes, I'm the boss, so I can make up whatever excuse of why I didn't get it done, but I have to get it done. And so I think the discipline and habit of being willing to do things that you don't want to do, but doing it anyway is important. Of the two, I say creativity, because I think of the two, you can hire people with discipline. You hire someone with creativity, their head's in the clouds and they'll float away, and they'll do their own thing. So it's of the two, creativity, but I think it needs to be tempered.
Okay. It's interesting. I think I'm like up to episode probably 53, 54. And we always get different answers to what people think is the single biggest quality.
What have you heard?
Oh man, grit, determination, open-mindedness, being able to listen. And after 50 or so and working with clients myself, especially in this advisory capacity, I came up with what I felt was the single most important quality. And you actually hit one of them. I feel it's discipline. And I tell you why. Especially when you're advising, you're giving people direction or we're coaching, we collaboratively come to whatever answers we come to. So, okay, great. So we go, okay, hey, John, so next week we have to get this part done. And they go, yeah. Then we get there next week and you say, John, how'd it go? And they go, well, I didn't really. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, the next week, John, we're going to get this done. Yes. And then the next week, well, I did half of it. To me, I find that's the one that I've come up with now. My single most important quality is discipline. Nobody's wrong and nobody's right. Right. It's just what we choose to emphasize. Sure. And the interesting thing is that I think I asked that question and it's almost like a trick question. There is no single most important quality
Sure.
probably.
Right,
You
right.
have to have at least, you might have some dominant qualities, but you have to have a number of them. So I love that one. Creativity is the one that I have not heard before. Now I like that one as well, because that to me envisions that whole forward thinking. And we
Yeah.
have to have that as owners, right? Those who aren't creative end up going the way of the dinosaur, I think, in business.
It's adapting and it's changing. It's ideation, innovation, all that stuff, pivoting we
Yeah.
talked about. So I think
Yeah.
that spirit of being able to kind of slalom, figure things out
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I imagine that like the owner of Blockbuster, the CEO of Blockbuster was not creative at certain points.
I think very often it's different, right? When you're running a large corporation, a multi-million-dollar corporation is different. But I think, and I don't have that experience, so it's hard for me to really speak to it. But I think they probably get mired so much in the day-to-day that
Oh,
maybe they don't take the time to kind of think differently and think of ideas and see what the upstarts are doing or see what other industries are doing. Because back then it was laughable to what are you gonna mail these big VHS tapes? Like it's ludicrous. Like it would be so expensive. And then the DVD started, and it's like, oh, all right, that's a little bit more mailable. But the concept of streaming was barely there.
wow.
Like, just not even a concept. So trying to forecast like what will life be in 5 years or 10 years, I mean, that's my job, right? I mean, especially when it comes to internet marketing, where we have, things are constantly being thrown at us in the world of AI and machine learning and the metaverse, and all that stuff is there, and all that thing sounds weird. But not in 5 years from now, not in 10 years from now, it's going to be there as much more normalized. Of having a conversation with a bot will be much more normal, because we're sort of doing it already if we have an Alexa or Google Home, et cetera. And
Yes.
so I've always envisioned Phone Blogger turning into that, where you're basically being interviewed by a bot. Right now it's clunky and seems weird, and it's almost almost a child's toy, or too clunky, which is kind of like those giant cell phones that they used to have in the 1980s that we made fun of. But then 20 years later, it's in our pockets, in our purses, and it's more powerful than the computer that sent the rocket to the moon and all that stuff. And so I say 20 years from now, imagine how it'll be. And we know things go faster even, so it's not really 20 years, it's 10 years from now.
Yes.
And so
absolutely.
10 years from now isn't a long time. And it doesn't happen like overnight. It's not like 9 years from now, it's nothing. And then you have the 10th year. It's a gradual process.
That's
so while
right.
10 years from now, it'll be mainstream to talk to bots and have an avatar, like a metaverse avatar. But 5 years from now, you'll have the early adapters of that. I mean, you have the early adapters of it right now, where you have, large corporations kind of playing with the idea of having a business in the metaverse and things like that. And it's not mainstream. It's not something I'm doing right now, but there are people doing it right now that'll create a virtual reality storefront for your business. And, the only reason it's not viable is because people aren't there yet, literally. But as we
when they're
start,
there,
when we're there,
we'll
be there. And right now it seems weird and clunky to wear those giant goggles, and we can't imagine ever doing that. Well, that's the same having a giant briefcase of a phone to your ear.
True.
And that's true. We would never do that. But when the technology minimizes to the point where it's pocketable and it becomes like just wearing glasses, it'll be there. So Google Glass was ahead of its time. Everyone made fun of it. It was, way ahead of its time. I never bought it because it was ahead of its time. But inevitably, we know that's the future. And I, in one way or another, have to be part of that. And then there are going to be versions of contact lenses and all that crazy stuff. But back to your point, that's my job, right? I got to be thinking about those things. I feel that's my job. It's not relevant right now, but luckily I'm interested in that. Luckily I'm a computer geek. Luckily it's, comes natural to me because I like that stuff. So it comes naturally to me.
And I'm sure that's partly how you but chose this line of work. It complements your passions.
Oh, it does. Yeah, sure. And I like, finding ways to help people express themselves. And so ultimately we're a publishing company, we're a content marketing company. So it's making that world of content marketing fun and done.
That's cool. That's cool. So you're gonna have to keep your creative hat on for a long,
Yeah.
long time, my friend.
Yeah, it's always
I might
something
be
new.
able to shut mine down. We'll see. But you, no, business. You're right. It constantly evolves, and as the world evolves, technology and the like, if you're going to be successful in business, you have to be willing to be creative. I guess it's tying into adaptability and being able to.
Yeah,
I think you use the word slalom,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
Adapt. So all of
yeah.
those things are going to tie in. Awesome, awesome. I'm going to ask you another question. And you've been in business for a while. You have a nice level of success. What advice would you give to a new business owner?
Sooner than later, start talking about the business. Start, you're in sales and marketing mode. Don't think you're too soon. If you don't feel you're too soon, you're too late. Start doing it. If it's a side hustle, make it a side hustle. You don't have to quit your job necessarily nowadays. There are a lot of things you can do as a side hustle. Start earning that income and start building it. And if it can be some type of retainer, recurring, repeat type business, then that's really the focus, because or else it's tough to be on that grind and constantly finding the new. It's a lot better having this set of clients and knowing that there's repeat recurring business, having them be raving fans. That word of mouth will spread. One client leads to 2 to 4. It's like that doubling a penny every day. So just start small. It's okay to start small, even though you're thinking big, but start. That's the most important thing. Start, because you're not going to be great at it in the beginning. You're going to make mistakes. And yes, it's good to have a marketing plan and a business plan to think things through, but start. You're not going to be wrong in the beginning. Well, I should say you are going to be wrong in the beginning, but you are as right as you can be at that time, and you'll learn from that. That's all part of it. So just get started,
Nice.
and start talking to people and just put it out there. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Would you want any help around that? Just be authentic, be simple about it, and admit that you're new to it. Where we have a new aspect of running podcasts. Now we run more than a dozen podcasts for our clients. But that's really because we have this base of clients and raving fans that they believe in us and that they know that it's going to be in beta and we're going to learn and we're going to improve. But, being upfront and saying, hey, look, this is relatively new, but it's not based on randomness. Like, we're not opening up a bagel shop, it's built on what we've been doing. It's just a new aspect of it. And so admitting that, being authentic and kind of knowing that we're going to improve, and just start with your own network of people, start talking to people. And they'll introduce you. Don't worry about people trying to steal your idea. Like, no one's stealing your idea. Like, no one's going to do what your idea is. You're barely doing what your idea is. No one else, no one else is going to do it. So don't worry about someone else. Someone might steal my idea.
Yeah.
What idea? You're not even doing it.
Ideas of thought.
Yeah. Ideas of thought. You're not even working it. What are you afraid of someone else working your idea?
Yeah.
So
and
work your idea.
If they do steal your idea, then you can copy it and then go.
yeah, exactly.
Thanks for taking my
learning from
idea.
each other. I'm learning from each other. Like, I'm like, hey, that's a good idea with respect to it. Let me incorporate that, a little bit. And how can I improve it and make it my own and find other aspects? But we're all in the game.
I love it. You said something. I boiled it down to 4 words that I'm gonna use. Actually, when you see my eyes looking down, I'm writing notes.
Yeah.
Start small, think big. I love that. Start small, think big. And if you do that, you know what? You'll find success.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant way to grow your business.
Yeah.
Have your big idea. That's awesome. It might be a $1 million enterprise, but don't spend 950,000. Start small.
Yeah. Focus on every one of your clients. Turn them into raving fans. That's important. We see that already. I mean, we have raving fans because of Phone Blogger and Video Socials Clubs. But now with our VIP service, it's the same thing. It's like, all right, we're cultivating raving fans for that. And it's like, all right, we can see that already. Like, when they start like, this is awesome, this is cool. They're raving about us to their clients and their guests. And so that leads to new business for us. And so your greatest sales team are your raving fans, your clients that you've impressed. And so that can only happen because you start small and you focus on doing good work.
I love it. And like you said, you used the word earlier about compounding.
Yeah.
So it compounds. Yeah. That's beautiful. One final question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
This ties into what we just asked, but if you can go right back to right before you started your business, what advice would you give yourself?
I mean, look, it's a learning curve. And so it would be literally run the business that I'm running now. It would be all the things that we talked about, take credit card, but take upfront payment, take that upfront payment, start an outbound campaign sooner. I mean, it's all the stuff that I'm doing now. I wish I knew then to do what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Hindsight is 2020. Yeah, hindsight is 2020. But then again, I was doing what I knew to do. So it's a learning process.
I like that. That. And if I'm going to just piggyback off of that. If you are willing to understand that it's a learning process, then you can grow your business. If you go in thinking you know it all, you're going to fall.
Yeah, right.
You have to go in with that humility,
right.
Because we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
Till we find out we didn't know.
Yeah.
But
you know a lot, and you can do good work, and you can improve. And so again, start small.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey man, this has been a lot of fun. I want to thank you so much for
this is great. Thank you.
Giving us some of your time and your expertise. And I'm really looking forward to getting in the club.
Videosocials.net.
Videosocials.net. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing your continued journey to success.
Thank you, Marc.